Why avoidants send mixed signals instead of saying what they feel? Have you ever wondered why an avoidant can seem deeply interested one day, then strangely distant the next? They may text you warmly, open up emotionally, and make you feel important, only to suddenly disappear without explanation. The confusing part is that their actions can contradict their feelings, leaving you questioning everything you experience together. But what if those mixed signals are not always about playing games, losing interest, or secretly rejecting you? What if they are actually struggling with feelings they do not know how to express safely? For many avoidantly attached people, emotional closeness can create two different reactions inside them at once. One part may genuinely want connection, affection, reassurance, and the comfort of having someone emotionally close. Another part may become uncomfortable when that connection feels too intense, demanding, vulnerable, or emotionally exposing. This creates an internal conflict where they move toward you emotionally, then suddenly feel the urge to retreat. And instead of explaining that complicated process, they often communicate through confusing behavior instead. This is where mixed signals begin, because their feelings and protective instincts can pull them in opposite directions. They might miss you deeply, but avoid contacting you because reaching out makes them feel emotionally exposed or dependent. They might want to spend time with you, but become distant after experiencing an especially intimate or vulnerable moment. They might care about your feelings while still struggling to provide the consistency you naturally expect from them. To the other person, this feels confusing because the emotional message seems to change without warning. But underneath that confusion, something more complicated may be happening inside the avoidant person's emotional system. They may have learned that depending on someone emotionally can create disappointment, rejection, pressure, or loss. So when genuine feelings become stronger, their instinct may be to create distance instead of moving closer. Distance gives them something they deeply value, the feeling that they are emotionally safe, independent, and in control. The problem is that protecting themselves from vulnerability can also prevent them from expressing affection honestly. This is why an avoidant may communicate through actions instead of direct emotional conversations with someone they care about. They might check your social media, remember small details, find excuses to contact you, or quietly watch from a distance. They may show concern when you are struggling, but become uncomfortable when you ask what their feelings actually mean. They may initiate contact when they miss you, then become distant when the conversation turns emotionally serious. From your perspective, this looks inconsistent, but from theirs, it can feel like emotional self-protection. Another reason avoidants send mixed signals is that they may not fully understand their emotions while experiencing them. Someone can genuinely miss you without knowing whether they want commitment, closeness, reconciliation, or simple reassurance. Avoidant tendencies can make emotional awareness harder because feelings are sometimes pushed aside rather than examined. So instead of thinking, I miss this person, and I should communicate that honestly, they may simply reach out casually. That casual message can carry far more emotion underneath it than the words themselves seem to reveal. You might receive something as simple as, "Hey, how have you been?" after days, weeks, or months of silence. The message may look ordinary, but sometimes the emotional question underneath it is much more vulnerable. They may secretly wonder whether you still care, whether you would welcome them back, or whether they still matter. But directly asking those questions requires vulnerability, and vulnerability can feel extremely uncomfortable for an avoidant person. So they test the emotional temperature indirectly instead of openly admitting what they want to know. This is also why avoidants may become warmer when they sense you are emotionally pulling away from them. When you stop pursuing them, the pressure they associated with closeness can suddenly disappear from the relationship. That distance can make them feel safer, allowing feelings they suppressed to become noticeable again. They may suddenly become curious about you, remember shared experiences, or wonder whether they have lost your attention. Ironically, your emotional independence can sometimes make it easier for them to recognize feelings they avoided. But there is an important distinction you should never ignore when interpreting mixed signals from an avoidant person. Having feelings for someone does not automatically mean they have the skills required for a healthy relationship. Someone can miss you, love you, feel attracted to you, and still be unable to communicate consistently. Someone can fear losing you while behaving in ways that make you feel unwanted, confused, or emotionally exhausted. Feelings matter, but healthy relationships require those feelings to become clear, respectful, and consistent behavior. This means you should not spend all your energy decoding every message, delay, like, glance, or sudden behavior change. Mixed signals can reveal emotional conflict, but they cannot tell you exactly what someone will choose to do about it. The most reliable information comes from patterns because consistent behavior tells you more than occasional emotional moments. If someone repeatedly approaches you and then disappears, that pattern deserves attention regardless of their feelings. You deserve to understand not only what someone feels, but also what they are genuinely capable of offering. Sometimes an avoidant eventually becomes more direct when they feel safe enough to communicate without feeling trapped. They may recognize that vulnerability does not automatically mean losing independence, control, dignity, or personal freedom. They may learn that healthy communication does not require abandoning themselves or becoming dependent on another person. And when that happens, mixed signals can gradually become clearer because their internal conflict becomes easier to manage. But that transformation must come from their own growth rather than you constantly chasing, convincing, or rescuing them. So if an avoidant is sending mixed signals, do not immediately assume that nothing was real between you. Their distance may sometimes represent emotional conflict rather than an absence of feelings or attraction. But do not make the opposite mistake by treating every confusing behavior as proof of hidden love either. The healthiest approach is to observe the pattern, communicate your needs clearly, and let their actions provide the answer. Because genuine feelings become meaningful when someone becomes willing and able to express them consistently. And perhaps that is the biggest lesson behind avoidant mixed signals. Feelings can exist without emotional readiness. Someone may care about you deeply, while still fearing the vulnerability required to build something stable together. Someone may miss you, while remaining unable to move toward you in the way you genuinely need. Someone may even fear losing you while continuing to protect themselves through silence, distance, or withdrawal. That contradiction can hurt, but understanding it can help you stop taking every withdrawal personally. Instead of asking only, "What do they secretly feel?" ask a question that protects your emotional well-being. Ask yourself, what are their consistent actions telling me about what they can realistically offer? That question moves your attention away from endless guessing and brings it back toward your emotional needs. Because you should never have to become a detective just to know whether someone will meet you emotionally. The right relationship should create more clarity than confusion, more security than uncertainty, and more peace than anxiety. So the next time an avoidant sends mixed signals, remember that their behavior may reflect an internal battle with closeness. They may be caught between wanting connection and wanting protection from everything that connection makes them feel. Their silence may hide uncertainty. Their distance may hide vulnerability. And their casual messages may carry unspoken emotions. But understanding their psychology does not mean accepting endless inconsistency or waiting forever for emotional clarity. You can understand why someone struggles with intimacy while still choosing something healthier for yourself. Because ultimately, love is not only about what someone feels when they are alone with their thoughts. Love also becomes visible through communication, reliability, emotional courage, accountability, and staying present when things become vulnerable. And when an avoidant finally learns to express those feelings, instead of hiding behind mixed signals, everything becomes clearer. Until then, protect your peace by watching the pattern rather than becoming consumed by every individual signal. Sometimes the clearest answer is not hidden inside their words, but revealed through what they consistently choose to do.